atmosphere here. It's really nice having a crowd again.
Excellent. And also, obviously, high ground reigns supreme. Once you had the high ground there, able to maintain, do you think that was the difference maker? You felt comfortable being above the rest of the teams?
Like, we knew that high team doesn't have much, so we just took it.
You took it. Going into the next game, much of the same? Do you have to constantly change strategy, or did it feel good playing against the rest of the world?
It feels good. It feels pretty easy. I'm not like denying the competition, but it feels really nice playing here. And yeah, we're just going confident into game 2. Still have to be consistent to the end of the tournament, then that's it.
Excellent stuff. Once more time, guys, give it up. Your game 1 winners, Cami and City! Good stuff. Let's head back over to our man, Zeke on the desk.
Thank you guys so much. Game number 1 is taken by EU. This is going to be a tough one for everybody else. EU, let's represent, baby! Cami and Seti, though, come out huge in game number 1. What's crazy, too, for a moment there, we watched Queasy and Bino go for height in 6th moving, right? But it's not them who end in height, it's Cami and Seti.
It's crazy, big development there. I can't believe Cami and Seti are the ones that actually end up on the high ground. I love the fact that you mentioned that there were a little bit of flip-flopping going on the high ground. Somehow Cami and Seti, probably the least likely to, in my opinion, to find themselves up there, do so well played coming from them. And also, not to mention, this end clip right here doesn't even tell the full story. Seti goes down in that mid game, and Cami clutches up 1v2, which is why he has so many eliminations coming into this. And then to close it out here, just 2 separate solos, and they make easy work of them.
It was right around the start of Zone 8 that we saw Cami just sweep Queasy completely off guard there on the flank. Didn't seem as though Queasy was fully aware of the fact, because there were so many teams trying to challenge that high ground at once, but it was Cami and Seti who actually successfully walked away with it, and they just had so many builds. That vertical play throughout the entirety of 8th and 9th zone, there was just nothing anyone else could do about it.
And the thing that I love, right, is we came into this game and we're like, who's going to be nervous, who's going to be confident? I have never been able to tell if somebody is confident. After winning game number 1 of an invitational, it seemed like there was like no expression coming out of Cami and Seti. There was like, yeah, that's expected.
That's what they're used to, right? That's how they won the most recent DreamHack. This is almost like, it's like their life is on repeat, but this time instead of DreamHack, it's FNCS Invitational, right? I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts. We saw a lot of like self-regional eliminations, right? EU eliminating EU, yeah. NA eliminating NA. It was kind of crazy. I'm surprised there wasn't more, I guess, intermingling.
Big battles going on here, and it's really close towards the top of this leaderboard. Of course, Cami and Seti finding themselves at the top. They're getting that victory royale, securing 44 points. The early lead after game number 1, but NA West also representing here, going down in that third place position, getting 42 points on the back of so many eliminations.
But it was actually the 4th place position. Noah Riley, Bad Sniper, they're walking away with 8 elims. That is a good chunk of points that they were able to compensate for, despite not being able to close things out. And I think ultimately we saw in the first 3 zones a little bit more EU heavy as far as the elim fee was concerned, but sure, by the time we hit that mid game, it seemed as though all of NA and some of the international regions just really started to hit their stride, because everything just started lighting up immediately.
A lot of these players, right, they're using this initial game as a kind of a feeler, right? Let's just kind of see how this all works and everyone the land looks like, and then we'll look to go ahead and fight back. But real quick, we have a mini miner standing by. What you got for us?
Thanks so much, Zeke. Now, we want to be taking a deep dive into one of our duos that have been deep diving into the dead side of Zone. As we reveal this massive screen right behind me, we're going to be talking, of course, about Commandment and Avery, our reigning NA East FNCS champions. We can see them on the screen right there, the little white arrows, and they've made a really, really interesting rotate this game. We can see the path that they are going to take using all the way on that dead side of Zone. Now, you might be wondering, what is the benefits of dead side? Now, you can see on the map, loads of those little arrows are on this side of Zone, right? And this is the area that most teams are going to be at, because most of the POIs are going to be rotating into there. We can see Commandment and Avery using the sort of the mid-map rotation, right? You can see the in-game rotation devices, you can see the launch pads being used, you can see the balloons, and of course, you can see the slipstreams as well, and you can see them getting to this less congested side of Zone. Nobody's there. What's going on? They have a free rotation, but of course, this comes with some problems, right? We saw them struggling with Surge in that previous game. It didn't quite work out the way that they were expecting. They weren't able to find as many players as they could, so the benefits for them are, of course, they're on the less congested congested side of zone. They don't see anyone, but that also has implications. You don't get the damage done. And you can see that in the last game. They were struggling for tags. Of course, we saw King and Ed doing the exact same thing, but they were able to find as many eliminations and as many tags as they possibly could, which kept them afloat. Unfortunately for Commandment and Avery, though, it didn't quite work out. I've got so many questions to ask, and who better to ask them themselves? Kelly, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mini Mine. Joining me right now, I have Commandment and Avery. And Avery, I got to ask you, man, how do you feel about it, game number 1?
Surge was pretty rough. We had to run through Hauler's shield pretty early, so we died on half zone. But we still managed to get 8 points for first game, just testing the grounds.
Well, good luck in that next game, guys. I'm sure you're going to be doing a lot better. I'm going to be joining over here Acorn and Edgy, guys. That second place finish, what was going through your mind once you had that solo run?
I mean, honestly, it was all Acorn. Like, I didn't even do anything, to be honest. He's just the best player in the world.
Yeah, man, what was going through your mind?
I know I had chromes, and I was like, I'm 100% going to get top 2 here. No, I was confident, and it went my way.
I love it. Congratulations, guys. You have a great start to the competition. Let's head on back to the desk.
Thank you so much, Kelly, and of course, Mini Miner, and shout outs to the players. That was just game number 1. Now, this looks a little deceiving, right? For a moment, we celebrated Cammy and Seti. We think, okay, they got the victory royale, big deal. Yeah. However, Acorn there, it's okay. They didn't get the victory royale, but that's not what they needed, right? They just needed to place high.
Yeah, of course. You know, Acorn, you can hear it out of Edgy right there. Best player in the world. Love that confidence coming out of the teammate. But again, you know, one of those solo clutches that we kind of saw was from Cool and Yume. I think it was Cool specifically getting into that endgame, securing that 3rd place position. And we could saw at one point in time, he was like in that 1v2 situation in that box fight. And he comes out on top and just transitions that all the way towards that 3rd place position.
You don't become FNCS champions without having this kind of a collective measure when it comes to your mental discipline inside these block fights. And not to mention the fact that they also had 7 elims to boot to close this one out. So not only are they placing high, but they're also making sure to capitalize on those elims as well. And it is everything when you're able to try and establish these early leads, because this is a very competitive lobby. And I think, if anything, game 1 is only amped me up even more to see what these players are going to do.
Yeah, the individual performances coming out, and that's what matters so much on these stages. You know, we saw last season on the NA East region, Commandment is the one that won it with his solo clutch. So every single solo performance matters tenfold.
That's right. I want to take a look at our standings once again. And again, don't freak out. This is just game number 1. This is our feeler game, right? From here, we make adjustments and we make the changes we need to succeed. Cammy and Seti, they did win game number 1. But with only 6 eliminations, they're currently sitting at the 44 points. As we kind of start to go top to bottom, you know, we did watch Queasy and Vino. They did try and take height. But I'm curious as to, like, what you feel kind of happened. How did that all unfold? The height take looked good, but something went wrong.
So we knew this was coming, right? We knew Queasy and Vino were going for the higher ground, and they had it going into that first moving zone. And then all of a sudden, we were checking it out. You know, Runa and Pepper are all of a sudden on the higher ground, and Queasy and Vino are like, all right, fine, we'll give it up. And then, like, 5 seconds later, I look back up, and Queasy and Vino are back on height. So, you know, they had the strategies there. Ultimately, Cammy and Seti just found the best of them, though.
That's right. Really quickly, let's go on over to our friends Kelly and Adam, who are standing by on the stage.
Thank you very much, Zeke. Guys, are we having a good time? All right, we're looking good. Game 1 is done, and game 2 is imminent.
However, we need your help, everyone, because our battle bus is out of gas and we power it with hype. So in the count of 3, I'm going to need you to get as loud as you can possibly get.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Let us in! Come on!
Get louder! We keep going!
Keep going! Keep going!
It's almost there!
As loud as you can! Come on! Keep going! Fantastic! You look beautiful out there! It's time for game number 2.
Now that's how you kick off a battle bus, Jacob. Whoa, the crowd is really coming together for that one.
Yep, and Acorn clutching it up by himself as a solo. Cool, and Yume from NA West. But you got to give it up to EU, Cammy, and Seti taking that top spot, and they're really putting the lobby on notice. Hey, we came to play. We came to take over.
So much representation from all of the players showing up in that last game there. NA West, NA East, Asia. EU, of course, you saw what they were able to do there. And again, that is what makes this all worth it. That is why we tune in for these moments.
Yeah, but that was just game number 1.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure with game number 2 right around the corner, the nerves are beginning to settle. The players have figured out how the lobby is going to be. And one of the things I've noticed after that first game, everybody is stingy with Storm Surge damage.
That's right, but listen, the show must go on. Let's just go ahead and keep things rolling. Thank you guys so much. We're trying to get our players back on that battle bus so we can start game number 2. Now that we have a moment here to just breathe, the biggest thing I think on a lot of these players' mind, as you even saw some of them talk about in their interviews, Storm Surge. This is something that a lot of these players, they try to overcome, and now they have to double adapt. Not just adapt to their own meta and the way they're used to playing Storm Surge, but how other duos ahead of them, next to them, behind them, may be doing the same thing.
Every single time in Fortnite that we have like a set lobby over the course of X amount of games, game 1 is always the most stacked. And we saw it right there. It was like the flip of a coin. All of a sudden, the lobby, the amount of players left alive just crashed instantly because so many of them needed to fight for it. But one thing that I did see in that early game right there, a lot of balloons were being used. A lot of the players poisoned themselves all the way up there in the sky, then using those hammer assault rifles primarily to get tags in the early game. And then anybody that wasn't really doing that, unfortunately, just had to force a fight later on in the game. Like, for example, we saw Epic Whale and Reek go down because of one of those fights.
Look, it might have been Cammy and Seti that actually closed out the lobby, but it was Muzz and Looter who got the action going for us because we did see a decent amount of hesitation. It's kind of expected, I think. Game number 1 here at the FNCS Invitational. Nobody wants to be the first one out, but unfortunately, for Smite and Larson, that was the case because Looter and Muzz actually winning out the immediate trade. And this is one of the POIs that we touched on at the start because we knew that Muzz and Looter have the experience. You want
to know something? This is what I love because, you know, we're talking about how some of these all-spawn situations are going to go down. And, you know, I was talking with some of the other analysts, and Taco included, and Muzz and Looter was like, you know, I think this might actually, you know, play into their favor being contested all-spawn because, you know, Looter himself said NA East has been way harder than OCE. He thinks there's a lot more talent over here. And then Storm Surge was one of the things that he was most worried about. So the fact that they ended up being contested, and that game is a great example. They get that early damage done, those early eliminations, and they're set for the rest of the game. They don't even have to worry about their biggest worry coming into the Invitational.
Another duo that had a tough time getting going, Mr. Savage. It took a fight that maybe didn't quite go the way it was anticipating. Let's take a look at some of the replays and kind of talk about what we're seeing.
That one was definitely a bit of a heartbreaking moment because when a duo that hasn't even naturally been practicing this off-spawn situation up until recently challenges you and beats you. iDrop said it himself in the pre-game interview. I've been dropping here uncontested for the past year. It's not going to change the outcome, and yet we're witnessing the downfall of iDrop and Mr. Savage.
Yeah, and honestly, shout out to On1 right there because, you know, the discipline, right? Sometimes when you go to clear buildings, you're kind of just running down the wall, the floor. He catches Savage trying to go for a sneaky little shot, and Savage at that point is just kind of caught in this box, and On1 cleans it up after placing that wall to make sure Savage can't get any control over any of those builds. So really well played from On1 for sure.
And something that's also worth considering, I think, for Mr. Savage and iDrop now is you have to remember when you have so much information out there on how you like to drop, loot, and land this spot, like what we've witnessed from this duo, I think that that is pertinent information because I would be very surprised if On1 and Vodka haven't been utilizing a lot of VOD review to their favor leading into this.
Yeah, I mean, iDrop himself said he's been laying here for 12 months, so there is a lot out there on it.
Yeah.
Now the question is, do we get the repeat of this again? Will we watch this happen again? Do we think they're going to change something up? Do they feel now like they have no choice? They have to try to take this fight.
You know, I think that, you know, the players, especially up there, they are pretty set on going for the fight. So I think we're just going to see a fight happen again. But, you know, game 1 jitters are kind of out of the way. If you get eliminated early in a game, you kind of can just sit there, right? You can mentally reset. You know, obviously some of it's going to start to wear down on your mental a little bit, but, you know, you can full reset, maybe come up with a new strategy with your duo, kind of talk to them in that meantime. You pretty much had that whole game to talk strategy and kind of, you know, mention what went wrong.
Because we are literally only one game through. We still have 5 left to go. There is ample opportunity here, not just for the players to have a chance to I think, boost their placement points on the leaderboard, but also it's just the simple fact that they can make the tiny adjustments that they need to. As far as iDrop Mr. Savage are concerned, now I think they're a lot more wary of the fact that All1 and Baka, they're definitely willing to take a super early engagement. They don't care about the fact I think are going to continue trying to look to establish their surge management early on.
And I love the terminology you use right there, more aware, right? Because, you know, again, On1 just recently decided to land here like 2 days ago. So it's like, whoa, for Mr. Savage and iDrop. We had no idea. There's no information because this duo hasn't really landed here before. But now, game one, the information is starting to reveal itself. On1 is obviously, you know, leaking some of those things just naturally as he plays through the games. And we know that Savage and iDrop are very well experienced. So they should be able to turn that into something positive.
Yeah, it's not kind of like the one beats all, right? There is going to be this back and forth that continues to develop. And it's kind of what we talked about like at the beginning of the show, is that adaptability factor. How many duos could just say, okay, this went wrong, let's go ahead and change these things so that doesn't happen again, right? Fortnite is primarily a game of what you would call RNG, right? You landed a POI, what's there? Where are the chests? Where's the guns? Where's the builds? And for these duos, they're trying to limit as much of that as possible, right? They want to find that spot. Hey, I know there's a gun here every time. I know if I hit this building as I open this door, pick up this thing, I'll have 10 builds. It's a wall I can use to defend myself if I'm jumped, right? So I'm excited to see how in game 2, a lot of these duos look to say, what do we got to do differently?
Well, for Beppo and Runa, I was actually very happy to see that they were the ones that initially started off at that Lustrous Lagoon. And again, that was an uncontested drop spot for them. You're talking about loot, you're talking about resources, Zeke, and there is ample of it at Lustrous Lagoon. A lot of these players have even been talking about the fact that it's kind of crazy that they have gone this entire time leading up to the event without anyone wanting to establish an immediate contest at that POI. So I like the fact that they were able to hang in that top 10 leaderboard as well, really representing their region, I think, excellently there, because the fact is there was a lot of traffic coming their way due to the way that the zones ended up pulling towards that north side. So the fact that they were able to not only stay in that surge management position despite being uncontested, but they also just made do with what they were given there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really cool to see that they actually also took the high ground from none other than Queasy and Vito in that endgame. Ultimately, yeah, they did end up losing it, but I want to see more of that, right? Just because you lost at just this one game, you may have a very good strategy that takes out, you know, something that Queasy and Vino aren't used to, and that's kind of that multi-regional invitational that is just so good, and all the strategies start to come out and catch players by surprise.
You'll love to see it. This is just kind of our insights here from the desk, but we also have Mini Miner standing by to get his thoughts on that game.
Absolutely, Zeke. It's not just me, it's Takata alongside me as well. Now, we've been watching all of this action unfold behind the scenes. We've been able to see some extra POVs, Takata. It's been intense, right? We've seen some crazy plays.
Look, players from all around the world, it's what I love to see these players shine, right? Zagu and Miram, they were fragging out, Mini. They got, what, almost 8 eliminations in that match? Even players from the West Coast, Cool and Yumi, they were also popping off in that late game. And what's going on with Seti and Cammy? Up in the clouds, right? We never seen them up there, right? Playing up top, it's something that you love to see in game 1 of an international event like this.
And this is what the invitation is all about, right? We have so many different players from so many different regions bringing different strategies, but it can all change. As we talked about earlier, things can change so quickly. Cammy and Seti on the high ground. What's going on? This is crazy. But of course, Cool and Yumi as well. You mentioned it, right? I had a few questions to ask about their surge. I actually spoke to them in person in the player area, and they said, we have all the answers, Mini Miner. Don't worry. Don't be concerned. And I was like, mate, you carry on. You do it, mate, if that's what they're going to do. And they're pulling out all the stops today.
I mean, they proved it, right? The way they played that late game, they were ready to dominate. But I mean, Seti, Cammy up top, I think that was more of like a situational thing, right? We had Queasy Vino earlier up top on the high ground, but then Seti and Cammy saw the opportunity and they striked, right? I don't think it's going to be an every game type scenario for this duo. We know they like the consistency, so I wouldn't, you know, be surprised if they switch it up a bit, but I'm excited to see what they continue to do.
I am very excited as well. I'm sure as are the devs. Let's throw it back to them to see what they think.
You know, you got a good laugh out of our boy Vivid here. I'm down. I'm not opposed. Yeah, you chuckled. That was pretty good. Another duo I did want to take a moment to highlight on screen right now, Zagu and Miram, coming out of Japan. These guys were just looking so good. 7 eliminations there in that game with a 41 total point. Now, this is just out of game 1. And, I mean, consider we kind of talked about it. They're contesting Commandment and Avery over at Rave Cave. And they were allowed to leave Rave Cave.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I think that that's pretty much what we can expect, but something that I did not expect, and my eyebrows, they went up, right? I raised them. That stat sheet right there, They did 2,200 plus damage this game. That is incredible. You can see it right here. A lot of it coming from this end game, actually picking up a plethora of eliminations. Their box fighting skills seem to be catching a lot of these players off guard in the game. Woo, look at that.
Absolutely crispy and cooking inside of these boxes. It's looking like a full-on barbecue right now with Zagu and Mareem, the way that they were just lighting it up inside of that low ground congestion. Not only that, but I just love seeing how poised they are after that finish. They have not lost sight by any means. They know exactly what's on the line here as far as regional representation is concerned, and you absolutely love to just see that energy kind of be reflected in their gameplay.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you mentioned energy. I've been seeing them walk around the player lounge, everything like that. You know, the walkouts, they always seem so happy, right? They're so happy to be here, and they seem confident as well. There's never really like a, you know, oh, we're worried to be here. No, they're just fully embracing it, and we can see it right there in game number one. They came on top pretty much.
When you have performances like that, I can imagine why they're so confident. Because again, I think a lot of duos may not have necessarily been anticipating some of this aggression that we are witnessing right now in game one from the other international regions. But at the very least, I do expect a little bit of a bite back from NA East, West, and EU.
I think for me, I'm looking forward to seeing how many more duels try to go for height, right? For in this instance, Zagu and Rim, they were just in that mid ground. They didn't even care about high ground. They're like, exactly. No, you guys battled out. We want more eliminations. We'll stay right here. Do you guys think that maybe more duels will look to just say, like, look, our kind of strategy to win is that high ground. We got to go for it.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. We saw a lot of teams that actually like to play the high ground. Unfortunately, not making it into that game. They went down a little bit early. Like, for example, Aqua and Reason, Jason and Chabix also went down. Another one, Alex and Bailey, we talked about them from OCE. They love to play the high ground, and they just, all three of them went down a little bit early, so it could change big time. You know, we also saw Kanata went down a little bit early. Macwood loves to play the high ground coming out of NA East. Pretty much the only thing that he shies for, but being left as a solo, he couldn't really do that this game.
But just look at some of these names that are located on the second page already for the leaderboard. You got Thomas HD, a Tripper, Pink, and a Nas. Again, I think Vika and Benign have been really exciting to kind of follow along with, especially since they're relatively new to Forum Tier 4. The FNCS Invitational. I don't think that is an easy feat by any means to have to quickly adapt to your partner.
100%. And listen, I can't believe it, actually, because Flix and Duke were actually popping off towards that end game, right? And, you know, the crowd was going crazy. We on the desk were like, wow, they're really showing up right now. And, you know, on that leaderboard, it's really showing us what finally eliminations on the big name as well.
sides, we actually have a really cool moment here. The cast was kind of talking about Bugha and Mira going down earlier. We had a listen-in moment. Let's take a look.
We need...
Even Bugha and Mira are like, hey, we need Storm Surge. We need to make sure this is right. It is absolutely affecting many of these players. We will come back and talk about more of this in just a moment. First, I do want to throw it on over to the player. This is the Fcx Invitational 2022 coming at you guys live. Are you two ready?
Yes.
Yes. Beyond ready and beyond excited. I think that more than anything else, this game number 2 could really be a little bit of a breakaway moment here for some of these duos. Cammy and Shetty in particular, they are definitely looking for another highlight reel instance. And whether it comes from Victory Royale or just from being able to rack up those elims, I think that the Polish powerhouse is certainly still making it known that they are some of the best.
Champions are on the stage, right?
I was gonna
Game
say.
number 2 is, this is where you got to start picking it up. You got to start developing your strategies around the meta of the lobby. And, who better to do it than the 100 of the best players from around all of the world?
Look at them zeroing in right now, Vivid. They are so amped. They are focused. The tension is real.
The tension is beyond real, and not only that, but I kind of want to touch on Bugha and Miro. We saw that little listen-in instance between the two of them, and were it any other duo, I think there might be some room for concern, but Bugha and Miro, I think, are an exclusive case, because Miro specifically, this guy is a 5-time FNCS champion, and yet, out of all the FNCS finals that he has competed in, he has only ever collected 3 Victory Royales.
Wow.
So it is a primary example of the fact that high ground can win games, but low ground could possibly win championships. And that moment in game number 1, while it wasn't able to go in their favor because they were struggling with surge management along with some of the other duos, again, they're able to make it happen.
All right. We've broken it all down. We had game 1 wrapped up. It's gone. Game 2 is here. It's now. The battle bus is ready. The players are on board. Let's just get this started. Here we have it. Thank you so much, Zeke. We get to start gearing up for this battle bus to take off now.
Yeah, this is finally setting in for a lot of these players on the stage. Game number 2 is starting right now, and hopefully all those nerves from the end of game number 1 have settled, because now when push comes to shove, some of these players that might be at the bottom of the leaderboard, Mr. Savage, iDrop, that went down early, they might have to start dealing with that Storm Surge early.
And that's right. We saw what happened in game 1. The real question is, how are you going to adjust coming into game 2? This battle bus is telling me that the Chrome Jam Junction is under fire very quickly. It's so close to the drop spawn. You can see already things kick off. This time, iDrop says, you know what? Let's put that weight, in my experience, on my back. Savage takes down Baka, and all of a sudden, it's a different tale to be told.
Happy birthday, Mr. Savage. First elimination here in game number 2, and that puts On1 on notice. You gotta have to watch out because we're here to fight. That first one might have been a little lucky, but another one, this one, I feel like has to have a little bit more damage because all 3 of these players, Monster, they were dealing with Storm Surge and they were just on the cusp. Some were even below.
This is not the only contested draw spot. Don't forget, Tilted Towers has so much going down there as well. So between Cloudy Condos and Tilted Towers, these are the 2 most contested drop spots. And what I saw there is Acorn and Edgy in the feed find Noah Ryler early. So there are big fights unfolding already, just giving us a little sample of how these drops are playing out.
Yeah, you can kind of see everybody just on their drop spot, the ones that don't necessarily have the POI. It's about looting up, getting as much resources as possible, trying to get as many metal and brick as you can in terms. That way, when you make it towards the end game, that way you don't have to worry about it. But for these teams that are also on the outskirts and talk about looting up, you have to start thinking about Storm Surge. Your pathing is going to be so important because we saw how many teams went down to the Surge itself.
Here is Poland's finest Game 1 winners from Becoming Legends, Cetis and Cammy. This team here has placed top 10 in every finals they have ever competed with together. But wait a second, hold that thought. And Ass and Pink here on the other side of the Joneses. This is a fight that's being extended out. The last time we were here, Clix found an elimination with Duke. They actually held it off. Remember when we talked to Reet and Epic Whale, they said, hey, you know what? I believe in the fighting power of NA on this one. They have full confidence that they can do it.
Yeah.
Pink and Anas have to jump back.
Yeah, and you got to think back to that NA East Finals where Clix solo points after solo points, but as long as these 2 guys stay alive, they're going to be contenders for every single tournament they play in. Duke has FNCS champion in trios. Clix is one of the best individual players on the planet.
We have a huge opportunity here for Duke and Clix to continue to put up big numbers. We know they had an excellent kickoff to things here as they continue to find their strides, but things are going to slow down, and you know, you really genuinely expect this to happen, especially at a Fort Jonesies. This is not a POI big enough for 2.
Yep, you see Clix just trying to gather the information. The longer this fight goes and the higher they build, if it comes to it, you got Jason Basil over on the side. Those are the third parties that we saw towards the early of last game. This is Nas, Pink trying to get deep into the box. That Evo Chrome Burst AR, we saw how much damage it does to these builds, and it eats through in a second.
More importantly, if you can find a tag, just
big.
like that, Pink and Anas already turning this story on its head here. That's bait there. He sees the shotgun. That moment, Duke does not let it drop. Now, mind you, Clix has some of the greatest track record in history of taking on head-to-head battles like this. This is why he is so recognized as one of the greats of the space in these kind of moments.
This is where these guys, 66% of their overall victory royales do come from the low ground. The Pink and Anas, they're just trying to keep a little bit of elevation. They're not ultimate high ground, 3-4 boxes big. They're just trying to keep that long as they can, but this Monster, this one's dragging out a little too long. Do you think there's going to come a point in time where they just kind of abandon and try to get to the zone?
Well, I hope it continues because the rest of the lobby is just taking their time. 49 duos are still alive here, and this is one of the only ones deciding to go toe-to-toe. Clix, once again, gets tagged there. And again, let's talk about the bad blood developing between these 2, Pink and Clix. Were once upon a time almost duos, as Pink was so close to traveling to United States to play alongside them, but now they find each other on the other sides of the monitor here, going head-to-head. And I mean, looking at the HP so far, it's looking very good for Guilds, NS, and Tundra's Pink.
Yeah, and honestly, let's talk about this prolonged fight and what happens if they do actually split right now. They're not going to have a lot of time to go ahead and mat up, but a big shot coming out from Clix. We know what happens when this man has his back against the wall. His bite is much louder than his bark.
This is where Duke does tend to shine right now. These real scrappy types of engagements. This man does not tend to miss a shot. As now, they're looking. They know the enemies felt that on the other side of the wall, but hey, the longer they stay here, the less, the less odds they have to actually survive. The longer story is, of course, making it to endgame. Let's jump on over, though, to our favorites of Miro and Bugha here. Head-to-head with Z, Andy, Joe, FN, Bevy in the distance as well. There's so much going on here.
Yeah, for them, we saw that replay of last game during the listen-in. They were just dealing with Storm Surge and not the best way. Even though they were about 50 above, that's not the position you want to be in. But you can see Bugha and Mero have a 60+ win rate when contested. So they just need to find their rhythm here on this international stage.
Talking about international stage, Alex and Bailey, they have taken us from the player lounge to the main stage. Game 2 now, the fight, the second time. The story won't be the same. It's Yusri who finds the trade there and now has to protect his teammate. A huge shot onto Bailey. It's not looking good for Oceania's champions here, but Bailey waits for the toe-to-toe. He gets the thirst, he needs the points. That's a kind of play you only see in person. A huge shot. Bailey says, respect me, Yusri, back up.
He has some heals to use, but does he have the time? Not finding a way to stabilize. Bailey's gonna get in, but only a sliver of HP, and that's why he's picking and choosing his fights right now. He's just going for piece control first, trying to heal up, getting as much shield as he can, but you can see he has no HP to regain, so that knock on the Jew is so important.
And he knows he cannot allow him to get the heal off here. You will not save your teammate if it's up to Bailey. Yusri may have the health advantage, but Yusri has his back against the wall right now. The defensive trade, a huge shot, and Bailey gets caught with his pickaxe out. Yusri clutches up, saves his teammate, and they are in game 2.
Sends him back to the lobby, but third place, NA West, Cool Yumi getting busy already. Elimination on the Wox. Now it's up to Rob Bob, trying to stay alive here, trying to get and find a position to where he can hide. You see it in the mini-map. He just got out, and I love that play coming out from some of these players, choosing not to be the hero, because you end up in the hero in the wrong position, you're end up going to be a 0.
Now, Robot doesn't have a lot of experience here. They've only made 2 finals together between Wox and Robot, but there's a huge development happening here. Let's watch this back one more time. Here's how it kicks off. Cool finds the huge tag. All of a sudden, the knock is there. And yes, there was a third party in the side. You get the reaction as well. You can see how fans are cheering in support of one another. But back into the action. Hellfire, Falconer, new duo, you know, pairing up with one another.
They already took down King, so this has got to be Ed coming out from Brazil. EU, NA West trying to take down the region, trying to bolster their points, because right now the only points they have is that elimination onto King. But with Storm now covering and moving over them, Ultimate Teams now in the distance as well, it's going to become more and more dangerous.
Falconer's one of the only competitors, one of the very few left in our scene that has been here since the World Cup. He placed 5th in duos way back when. Wait for him to step up to the challenge and take on this first FNCS Finals ever together alongside Hellfire there from Denmark. But On1 and Baka, did they get the save off?
No, I think On1's there by himself. He's just trying to stay alive, and it does look like Larson and Smite might know he's there. And this is where On1 has to be very, very careful, fighting in the storm with very little HP. Larson knocking on the door, trying to burst his way in. You see the bait and switch come through, trying to make sure that both of these players have enough HP to take a big shot from On1 and continue that bait and switch, but he is on the run.
What a tough story for On1 and Baka. Such a great and strong showing in game 1. He loses his teammate to Mr. Savage out the gate, survives, saves them, but Smite and Larson, who are contested here by Looter and Muzz, are still in the zone, and they meet him, and that's how they get this first elim. So it's only a matter of time now as the clock rages on. Smite steps up, and there it is. The zone does the rest, and they will find their second elim now, wiping up one of the greats from NA West.
Now they got to go ahead and travel to zone, but back on board, Falconer and Hellfire, but let's just make it Hellfire because Ed was able to take down Falconer in a 1v2 situation. Now he's 1v1 versus EU. Brazil trying to stand up tall. Ed putting the pressure onto those covers, but he knows when to pick and choose his fights. He hears the splashes coming out. He knows that's going on to Falconer. The shield keg as well. He's trying to stop as much of the heals from going through, but it does look like Hellfire is going to get 200 yet again.
Listen, Ed recently signed to Team Liquid, showing you guys why exactly he deserves to be here. He has had some of the most impressive rises in recent times on his region, but now he's looking to represent for Brazil and, of course, for Argentina. His teammate King, who is already down. Hellfire manages to lose his teammate. The wall gets taken, and Hellfire has to react quickly, but look at that. He does not miss a beat. Ed finds the siphon, and now it's an even exchange.
Yep. Right now, the 2 launch pads on the Hellfire. He can abandon this fight at a moment's notice.
Here it
but
is.
Ed with no HP, it's all or nothing.
Here it
This is the moment you've been waiting for.
Here it
Shots
is.
coming through, and Ed 1v2s NA East.
Brazil and Argentina are probably standing on their feet right now. Ed clutches up a 1v2.
Oh my gosh, and if somehow, some way, he found a way to get King's card, but they're on over to Chonker Speedway. The action will continue. Reason and Aqua going up against Hen and Bevy and Vortexers. They have a lot of practice going against each other on the EU region, so this is no strange fight to them.
What's scary about this is the fact that they've rotated out of the condo down to the territory of Booga and Miro at Chonker Speedway. And yes, they get met with this incredible duo, but it shows you that no one is safe. This entire area is such a deadly play zone, and now you have Reason with the scraps, with his back against the wall, below the Storm Surge, absolutely ready to commit to this battle.
Yep, Aqua and Reason again, 140 below the damage threshold. And you can see all the players at the top of the damage threshold, but this is, again, what is going to happen at Cloudy Condos. A triple contested spot, but nobody is fighting. That's forcing these players to rotate away to find some extra loot and find the damage. And 165 below, Monster, I would be lying to you if I said I wasn't nervous.
Copenhagen Flames, Pablo and Swag on your screen right now, also below, but hey, a good little tag here of Elim for Swag right now, puts him in a nice position. They found a player out in the distance. Snacky and Fast have a window open there, focusing on the duo as well. So they're all looking to target Noah Riley and Bad Sniper. Remember, Noah Riley was eliminated very early to the hands of Edgy while they were landing, and he didn't even get to touch down before he was swatted out the sky.
And game number 1 winners, Cammy and Seti. They haven't even done much. They get the zone for now. They get the high ground, probably just trying to go for Surge. So that way when they are forced to rotate, they only have to worry about that. But we knew they were down onto Surge. Now the Peace Control is trying to come over. They're trying to break into the boxes. It's now or never because damage is being dished. A huge shot from Aqua's onto Bevy, who's forced back into a defensive position.
Well, here we go. It's now enough in 20 seconds left, but so the Surge gets active, and they have to turn up right now. This is game number 2. Aqua needs these points here. Bevies manages to go ahead and chug splash his way down. He's back up to Vex HP. He's looking pretty solid, but Aqua not afraid by any means. Meanwhile, Reason finds a wall. That's an angle, but he doesn't like the defensive edit that responds from Bevy and Vortexer. And now, here it is. Things are going to get dicey as the Storm Surge turns on.
Yeah, look at them. You see 30 below. Even though they're continuously dropping, they're doing damage. Seti getting one on a Peppo, probably sending him back to the lobby as Scram goes down as well. Acorn found a way to get rebooted, but Deja Vu strikes. He goes down again to Epic Whale, who honestly is having a much better performance this go around.
But back into the action here. Reason now down to no HP. Aqua is also on the defensive stance here. Down goes Reason. That's a huge shotgun shot from Vortexer from the side. If you blinked, you missed it, and now Aqua has all the pressure on his shoulders. He has to back up. But Vortexer playing smart, respecting the GOAT of EU. Aqua here, our World Cup duo champion, is now left as a solo. Clock's ticking here, the pressure comes in. Bevy's looking for any angle. These are all enemy walls here. One false move and it could be it, but the Surge is gonna hurt Aqua again. He gets to heal off and no, he gets finished. Vortexer finds the second.
500 above the damage threshold. This is only their second FNCS playing together, and they're looking like they are longtime teammates already as Joe and Z Andy, uncontested, over towards Synapse Station, looking to get some damage as well. Even though 79 is above the damage threshold, you know as well as I do, that is absolutely nothing.
Nixon and Arthur here. Oh no, they're gonna find a huge elimination here. Another Surge fight that's going down, and it's attracting the flies in the distance there. You see folks starting to look over. Arthur has a decision to make. Does he push in again? They barely have anything. They've used all their heals. One tag is all it's going to take them out. Oh, Grolls claps back, though, and that's a huge punishment there. And with the downed body, he says, you know what? I'm going to full finish here. I'm back in this game. Artur takes off running for the hills.
That was a much needed battle by Grolls, and I like to play again. You cannot be a hero in these lobbies as Mustache. Looking like he's having a little bit of trouble here. 202